All right, all right. Here we go. Hitting the road. I am excited today to jump on the podcast with singer-songwriter, all-around entertainer, JT Harding. JT has brought us songs from the likes of Uncle Kracker, Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban, Blake Shelton, Dierks Bentley, Darius Rucker, and many more. JT, how you doing, man?
And many more you haven't heard of. Now, Hitting the Road podcast, I thought all my exes were going to be on here. Please tell me
We're
that's not this.
with that, that's actually not a bad idea for a podcast. Just confronting all your ex-girlfriends. Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Great
yeah,
to see you. Turn it up loud. We're going to get proud. Let's have a blast. Hitting the Road podcast. Woo!
let's go. So JT, man, dude, thank you so much. And I mentioned before we jumped on, I actually booked a date for you, man. So it was probably 6 or 7 years ago, but you had played you played a gig at the Opryland Hotel with Matt Jenkins, who is a mutual friend of ours, and John Knight, and man, you just smashed it that night, man. And I just remember, talking to Matt afterwards, and he was just like, dude, that is 100% JT Harding, dude. And
Woo!
and,
Well,
and yeah,
I just, I've never met a microphone I didn't like, Nate. And those guys, John and Matt, are two of the best that have ever put the boots down in Nashville.
yeah,
But you see, when my friends were studying the SAT, I was studying MTV. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
jumping up on stage and packing a punch and bringing a show to the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, dude, and you've got
I
such
always
a
have a large no ballot insurance, aka coffee. I
yeah,
drink coffees before every show. Woo!
absolutely, man. And dude, I mean, it feels like you got some coffee up in you right now, which I love, dude. But man, let me ask you because as we just kind of just really just frame up who, where you come from and everything. You're from Point Blank, Michigan, yeah?
Oh, you know your old movies. Yeah, no, I'm from Grosse Pointe,
Gross
Michigan.
Gross Point, because I was
But
gonna
there's
lean
a movie,
into
but
I
there's a
was
movie called Grosse Pointe
I was
Blank.
gonna lean into Gross Point Blank. My bad. So yeah, so tell me about so do you know, and it's so funny because that movie, are you familiar with it? I mean, it's so
Oh
heavy.
yeah, I watched a ton of it. It's fantastic. And so Grosse Pointe is known to be very, very preppy, and people think that everyone lives there is spoiled, but it's not true because I'll tell you, there was one summer when my family's limousine had no air conditioning, and it was
Okay.
awful. Kidding, kidding. No, everyone there worked really hard. Everyone's parents worked hard. But in the movie Grosse Pointe Blank, they show the parents, they're very preppy and
They're
it's
uppity, yeah.
real. But in the movie, there's a radio station right in the little town.
Yeah.
And, they kind of make a Hallmark movie, but with these two mafia killers or whatever, professional killers. If there was a radio station in that little town, I would have been running that thing day and night.
Yeah, man. I mean, because and being from that part of the country, I mean, like the fact that you ended up where you are now, just kind of because you bounced around a little bit the country, but and just speaking to that movie, man, I'm a big John Cusack guy. Like, are you familiar with that soundtrack at all? I mean, I know you're a rock and roll guy. I mean, but
Oh
did
yeah, well, no, refresh me. What's on the soundtrack? I mean,
so
of
I
course,
mean,
I
I know
know the
that I think
high,
that they've got the Who on
high
there.
melodies.
They've got the Who on there. Guns N' Roses does a Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die, kind of cover. I mean, there's just
Oh, that's from that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's so many just really just like hard hitting, songs. But yeah, I was just kind of curious if you were familiar because again, you're from
Now,
that
if the
area, but
soundtrack was true to Grosse Pointe, it would have been the Smiths, Echo and the Bunnymen. Oh yeah,
nice.
totally. Sprinkle in a little Duran Duran. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, dude, that's
I
great.
thought the
Yeah.
first time I saw a Duran Duran poster, I thought I was gay for 3 minutes. But that's another podcast. Okay, go ahead.
Gotcha. Well, so man, so you because now correct me if I'm wrong, you guys started out in Tennessee, but you ended up in Michigan, and then
Yes.
okay, and so when you're in
I was
Michigan,
born and the universe did a mic drop, my friend. And yeah, I was adopted at birth. I feel like I
mm,
won the lottery of life. I always say, my parents loved me so much that they gave me away. I was adopted by the Hardings, and
yeah,
I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think that's kind of why I'm usually in a good mood. I feel like I won from day one. My parents,
yeah,
Gary and Kendra Harding, I would not change them. I wouldn't
man,
trade them. Sorry for the world. I tried to change them. Yeah.
yeah,
They're the
yeah,
big, sports. They're gigantic sports people. My dad, looked like he ate Tony Soprano for breakfast. My
really
dad was that big. He played football at Michigan State. My mom
nice.
and dad were president of Little League, and there I was in the basement, jumping around MTV, hairspraying my hair with my babysitter's
Mm,
hairspray. But they
yeah,
always encouraged me to be myself, and it just made all the difference in the world. I'm
yeah.
sure that they had a hard time with me, but I think my mom enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and man, there's so many places we could go from there because I know that like when you're part of that, MTV generation when MTV actually did music, right? Where they actually
Woo!
made,
Yes.
and
And
so like,
I already loved music, jumping around to the radio. I had little 45 records. But when MTV came beaming into our living room,
mhm,
the images colliding with the music, and then
yeah,
also I'm first falling in love with girls. It was just, if you could bottle up that feeling, I'd drink it every night. Michael Jackson
yeah,
walking, he's lighting the sidewalk up, Bruce Springsteen pulling someone from the audience. I mean, Madonna singing Like a Virgin in a wedding dress. It all
yeah,
seemed real to me. It still does. And I just said, man, I'm going to crawl inside this TV,
yeah.
and I'm going to be a part of this world no matter what it takes.
Yeah, and man, that was such an interesting time too, because it's like, like you mentioned the Van Halens of the world. I mean, Van Halen was I mean, dude, I don't know if there was a bigger band on the planet at the time when I mean, and
No.
MTV was pushing them so hard, right? But that's the time too when I was a kid, man, like I was getting introduced to bands like Chicago and, just like, I mean, MTV was bringing like late night kind of romance
Totally.
kind of,
Stay the night.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
As a
exactly,
kid, I was
exactly.
into the hard rock, but now, of course, hard to say I'm sorry. But I also always loved Against All Odds by Phil
Yeah,
Collins. Yeah. I don't know if I'm lonely because I love sad songs, or I love sad songs because I'm lonely. They're
right.
just always coming together, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
totally. No, totally, man. Well, and that was such an interesting time and just kind of, part of your formation. And so like, let me ask you this. When did you start, kind of playing? Were you playing in the area? Like when you kind of first started out, like, or did
I
that not
was
come till later?
always I was always the lead singer because I could pose and pout and point from just, going to concerts. My dad worked at a talk radio sports station,
Mm,
and across the street was a rock radio station. And he would take his highly coveted, Michigan State tickets over there and get tickets to concerts. So
yeah,
I would just go and study these concerts. And my dad's not a long-haired, hippie kind of guy. My dad was like a big, sports guy, but he would take
yeah.
me to concerts. He took me to see Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue, and
Wow.
and because he got the tickets from the radio station, we were right down front. We were like
Yeah,
third row, and man, explosions, people jumping on stage,
sure.
Ozzy swearing, the crowd's going crazy. The freaking everything. It comes to an ear-shattering end. I mean, my
Yeah.
fillings were rattling. It was so loud. The main floor is just covered in debris, and I'm standing on my chair on my tiptoes trying to see over all the freaks in front of me in their
Yeah.
smelling jean jackets.
Yeah.
Look next to me, the loudest thing I've ever experienced. My ears are ringing like a fucking, oops, sorry, like a firecracker went off in my ear.
Yeah.
And I looked next to me, and my dad was sound asleep.
Oh, wow. Are you serious?
So I
Well,
nudged his giant shoulder. I said, Dad, it's over. And he looked around, and he took a deep breath, and he said, the inmates have taken over the asylum.
well, I mean, because listen, those are back in the day, man. Those were wild shows, man. I mean, like the
Oh,
band, the
yeah.
bands that you, and for those that may not know, if you haven't seen JT live, man, I mean, dude, you're such a showman and you're such a performer. And did you like that when you first started seeing, like you mentioned the pyrotechnics and all this kind of stuff, but really a lot of that's just over the top, right? Like, I mean, it's just this kind of additive to the experience. But like, I mean, what kind of like what artists were you looking at that like kind of showed you how to be the performer that you are because you are so unique and you stand out?
Oh, thanks. And going back to your other question, I'm not great at guitar or drums, piano. I mean, I can just play. I play very simple chords. I don't know the names of the chords or what
Yeah.
fret I'm on, but it's made my songs catchy. So when I was in bands and playing around, and I was in the battle of the bands all the time, but I was not like a virtuoso musician. I was a virtuoso. Yeah,
Sure.
virtuoso.
Sure. Sure.
And so I really loved, Prince, David Lee Roth. They were just so larger than life. And that's just what
Yeah.
I just always try to bring, a big show. But then, of
Sure.
course, the songs are important. You can have the best show in the world, but if you don't have songs. So then I started, getting into like George Michael and things outside of the heavy metal world. And then I saw Bruce Springsteen in
Mm,
concert in Los Angeles years later. And I like went
sure.
out thrift store and bought, every one of his CDs.
Yeah.
And so then that really, I always wanted to write songs, but I had to really sit down and try to figure it out. But in high school and stuff, I was writing songs, but
Yeah.
you hear me. I wrote a song with a girl that had braces. It was called Lockjaw. One of the lyric was,
Yeah.
when your lips are stunned, you can't have any fun. And the guy I
Well,
wrote it with, he's a doctor now. His mother called my mom and said, well, your son's over here and he's writing these crazy lyrics.
Dude, yeah, Lockjaw sounds like a song I probably would have written. But well, dude, and you know what's funny, man? You mentioned too, just staying kind of real quick, just kind of camping out there. But like, you mentioned like that era where like Prince and all that kind of stuff. I remember, man, like I started seeing these Prince videos, man, and I remember as a kid, formative years, I remember thinking like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be watching this. And then like I remember
Yes.
Purple Rain comes out, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not supposed to be watching this.
Yeah.
And like, but dude, but they were like, I mean, that whole era of television, it did. I mean, I think it set a lot of people just like yourself on a journey. And so, when
And the
you,
mystery, the mystery of it. I didn't know what the band Kiss looked like,
yeah,
for practically, my whole life. It would keep me up at nights. Like, I don't know where Prince shopped. I didn't, I didn't know Prince was just probably at home working on music and eating Doritos. I don't mean to sound like the old man in the room, but like with social media, to me, there's very little mystery. And to
yeah,
me, the mystery was so exciting. You just
sure,
couldn't, the only place you could see these people was on MTV, a flash in a magazine, late at night. The rest you just had to daydream about. If you missed Michael Jackson doing the
yeah,
moonwalk on TV, you were
totally.
not going to see it again until he came to town.
Totally, totally. No, absolutely, man. It's such a special time, man. And so like when you kind of decided, that you're going to pivot and you're going to make a jump, you go to Los Angeles, yeah? And
Yes, I
like
went to Los Angeles with a little bit of money I won from the Battle of the Bands. On the back of all my CDs, it said Sunset Boulevard, Warner Brothers
yeah,
Records, Epic Records. It was all Los Angeles, and there were some in New York too. But I thought to myself, if you're going to be a starving artist, Nate, do it in the sun. I'm like, I'm gonna get
right.
somewhere warm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I left before my friends even graduated. There was nothing. It was just nothing was going to stop me. I
I love
had
that, man.
get out to Los Angeles. And it didn't happen overnight, but it was fantastic. And it was raining celebrities out there. I got a job at a record store, and Kurt Cobain came in,
Sure.
Janet Jackson, Prince. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone, Springsteen. It was unbelievable.
Man, and so I know that we've talked about Prince a little bit. Let me ask you, because do you remember there was a skit on the Chappelle show? I don't know if you've seen this, where like
Oh
Prince,
yeah, of course.
and so like he's like this mythical kind of like interpretation Dave Chappelle does, and it's just like almost like he's just immortal, he's not real kind of thing. Like, and I've heard
Yeah.
you tell the story of like when you worked, kind of in this one store, he actually comes in, yeah, and like,
Yes. Yeah, I
and
worked there before I went to the record store. I got a job at a thrift store on Melrose Avenue, and there was one rule in the thrift store: you can't take the shirt off the mannequin in the window. It was kind of a Cookie Monster blue, like my sweater that I'm wearing.
yeah,
Bedazzled Sergeant Pepper's Beatles meets Pirates of the Caribbean shirt,
yeah,
and you're not allowed to take it off the mannequin. And one day the bell above the door rang, and I looked up, and Prince was standing there. True story. And he just said to me, I want that shirt. And
yeah,
we're not allowed to take it off the mannequin. So I said to my rock and roll hero Prince, I said, no problemo.
exactly,
I jumped
done,
up, took it down. The boss was like, a gigantic T-Rex of a man saying, what are you doing? And I said, you can fire me, you can dock my pay, but I'm giving the man that wrote, Little Red Corvette, whatever he wants in the store.
man.
And I gave Prince the shirt, and up Melrose he went on his high heels, and I was just, on cloud nine. And, Prince had a record label then, and I had already been in LA for a while and didn't have a demo. I
Mhm.
was in all these bands and stuff, and I said, man, I got to do something. So I went on VH1 Rock and Roll Jeopardy, and I won that show and used that money to make a demo. But I wasn't meeting anyone in the music business. So that's when I got a job at Tower Records, thinking, hey, if I'm working at this record store on Sunset
Yeah.
Boulevard, record execs are going to come in. I was so naive thinking something could happen that way. But it actually did. And I got my first record deal with EMI from just handing out my demo right there.
Man, and so a couple things with that, man. Let me ask you. So you mentioned Rock and Roll Jeopardy. I looked for that footage everywhere, man. I could not find it. Does it exist of you
Oh
on?
yeah, I had sometimes late at night. There was a thing called the Game Show Network. People would text me and go, "Dude, I see you on Rock and Roll Jeopardy.
So,
You haven't aged today." Yeah,
dude, so
yeah,
do you?
I have it somewhere. It's good. I annihilated the competition, but it was
Oh, I'm
really
good.
good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You know who the
do you,
host of it was, and I made a bunch of fun of. He went on to host Survivor. So
that's
whenever I
right. Yeah.
commercial,
What's
I'm like, "Oh, there's the guy from Rock and Roll Jeopardy."
yeah, yeah. I mean, do you remember any of the? I mean, well, a
Oh
couple
yeah,
things.
you want to know the final Jeopardy question?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Okay, check it out. I was up by so many points, no one could beat me, so I only bet $1. Here's Final Jeopardy. Here, I know it verbatim. For all you listening at home, chime in. No googling allowed. Women singers was the category.
Okay.
She is a member of the Royal British Army. She's had 10 top 10 hits in the 80s, which is a ton, and starred in the biggest movie of 1978.
Oh
Who
my
is she?
gosh. Oh my gosh.
10 top 10 hits in the 80s, the biggest movie of 1978, and she's a member of the Royal British Army.
1978. I don't know. Who is it?
I got it wrong. Olivia Newton-John.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's from Australia. They tricked us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Australia is under British rule, you know?
Dude, but you knew the answer at the time, or did
No,
you?
I got it
Oh, you
wrong,
got
but
it
I was
wrong.
by so many points, I still won.
You
And
still won.
the movie was Grease. The movie was Grease. That
Oh
before you
wow, 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 wow. No, you're right. You're right. Man, that's right. Well,
you
dude, let
think
me
a
ask you.
lot of you think a lot of songwriters listen to your podcast?
Oh yeah, yeah. We got songwriters
So
on.
check
Yeah, quite.
so check this out. Her gigantic smash hit, Let's Get Physical,
Yeah, yeah,
Physical.
yeah.
Songwriters were driving through Los Angeles one day. At the time, gyms were really big. I was just a little kid. And there was a giant billboard that said, Let's Get Physical. And these two guys were like, that would be a great song title. They write it, they make a demo of it, and they run to Rod Stewart's manager's office. It
Wow.
would have been a smash for Rod Stewart. Apparently, the manager, and I'm paraphrasing, said, I don't think this is right for Rob. But in the next office is Olivia Newton-John's manager biting his hands like they're
Wow.
cinnamon rolls, going, oh my gosh, I can have this song. That record was so gigantic. And don't give me these streaming numbers. We're talking like
Yeah,
10 weeks number one on the radio, millions of sales. So
man.
songwriters out there, you can write a song, people will turn it down, but that doesn't mean it's not good or that it's not going to be picked up and become a hit.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally, man. Well, and
Thanks
so
to
do
the
you?
music business, my heart's been broken more than the McDonald's in downtown Nashville. Keep going, kid.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Well,
Well, dude,
enough about me. Let's talk about my best-selling book.
let's talk about your book. I mean, well, listen, we can talk about your book, certainly, man. Because
Keep going. Keep going.
well, no, let me ask you to because like, do you remember how much money you won playing Jeopardy?
Oh yeah, I think it was like probably like $2,000 or something. So I used yeah, it wasn't like on the real Jeopardy, it's
Sure.
VH1. So yeah, I used that money to make a demo and really do it right. Which is funny. In Los Angeles, I would write 3 songs, make a demo, and pass those songs out for a year. I
Yeah.
mean, in
Yeah.
Nashville, 1,000 songs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Well,
funny.
so you get your record deal, and I know that I've heard you say before that like you had that you had it, you lost it, you got publishing, you lost it. I mean, like, man, I mean,
Oh,
like, what is that? And I know you've mentioned even too that like you think it's a good maybe a good experience for people that are new in the business to get that first deal, to lose that first publishing deal, to just understand the nuts and the bolts of it. Yeah.
absolutely. Everyone needs their first deal. But I'll tell you, losing a major record deal. So I went to New York. I made the record with, John Mellencamp's band. I was in a studio that like Warrant and Elton John and Lenny Kravitz were in. But then when I lost the deal, it felt like, a wrecking ball hit me, and unfortunately
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus wasn't on it. But yeah, it's like 10 breakups in one. But I just kept writing and I kept thinking eventually, something could happen. But you want to talk about hitting the road. So I was tired of working at the record store. Although it was great, I didn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
I lost my record deal, back at square one, but I wanted to stay in the music business. And I got a job working for the superstar band Linkin Park.
Yep.
So I went all over the world with Linkin Park. I saw places that have totally different languages, different food, different religions. I mean, I went to Russia, Japan, Utah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Utah. Yeah.
And they knew that I would set up their Xbox, get their stage clothes ready. They couldn't have been nicer. They're selling out arenas all over the world. So, and your listeners will love this, talking about hitting the road. So they started letting me, well, they said, you want to open up for us one night? And I was like, are you kidding? Of course. I never talked about my music with them, but they knew that I'd had a deal and this and that. So they lead me to the stage, Kansas City, sold out. They're walking me down like I'm a groomsman headed to the altar. They were so excited. I walk out on stage, lights go out, place goes crazy. It's like God punches a hole in the sky. The white spotlight hits me. But the crowd thought Linkin Park was coming out. No one introduced me because the guy out front didn't know I was coming out.
Yeah, man.
So the crowd was like 20,000 Charlie Brown faces. They were like, "What's this guy doing here?"
Yeah.
So I just said, "Hey, I'm a friend of Linkin Park. They're going to let me do one song." I start playing a song, and to all the dreamers, because I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's a big
Yeah,
word.
yeah, a lot of
That's a big
entrepreneurs
word.
At a Lincoln
Yeah.
Park show. Yeah,
No, no, dreamers and entrepreneurs. I had to learn entrepreneur. I usually stick to the big words I know, like
yeah.
gymnasium. Here I am singing a song I've written myself in front of 20,000 people, Nate. And can you just imagine how good it feels when every single person in the audience is chanting, "You suck, you
Yeah.
suck, you suck." It gives you a chill, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
kept playing and they kept booing. And I said, "Hey, Kansas City, if you want to take me on, well, how about this? Take on me." And I blasted, "Take on
Yeah.
me," my acoustic guitar. Anything not tied down was thrown at me.
Oh man.
Bottles, shoes, lighters. I'm still out there rocking. All of a sudden, the crowd starts cheering. Chester Bennington,
Yeah.
superstar lead singer of Linkin Park, comes out to rescue me. I did not, a coin had hit me and
Oh
I was
man.
bleeding, but I was so pumped up, I didn't know. So he takes me off the stage. He's like, scolding the audience. He doesn't need
Yeah.
to. I was fine, but a picture of Chester and I'm bleeding from the head. I've got my guitar, his arms around me. And that picture was on the front page of the paper the next day. And it caused such a stir. That's how I ended up getting my writing deal.
Wow. That's amazing. That's
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
You want to talk about hitting the road?
Yeah, man. That's and
I
such
was
a
hit, I was hit with everything and on the road. So, and by the
well,
way, that picture of Chester with his arm around me is actually in my book, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
yeah, let's get to it. Well, and so let me ask you this too, because like, and I don't know if you feel
Anybody read anymore? Yeah.
people, I think people read. I think, I'm an avid reader.
No, I'm teasing. I'm
Yeah,
teasing.
man, I'm gonna get after that. So I really am, and so like, let me ask you too, because, and again, I don't know if you've ever talked about this openly or if you have any feelings one way or the other, but you know, um, you mentioned how great Lincoln Park was, and they were just good to you, and you mentioned Chester, and he's passed away now, a handful of years ago, but did you know that when you were in that season and in that moment that you were working with a band that now a lot of people look back on? I mean, even now they're still doing, but like was just iconic in that era. Like, did you know at that time that like, man, this is kind of maybe I'm working with a historically good
That
band?
that's a great question. I don't know if I knew they would be. I didn't doubt they would be iconic, but certainly I didn't know one Chester was going to pass away. But they were so big; they were selling
Yeah.
out arenas everywhere. I think more at the time I was just watching and learning because Lincoln Park started their own merchandise company, so they
Oh well.
owned their own merchandise. Six guys in the band. They didn't drink or do drugs at this time.
Yeah.
Chester, couldn't have been nicer. I mean, he was as passionate. I mean, he would sing on stage like a baby that had swallowed the moon. He was just
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Mike Shinoda was the leader of the band. They just were they were like six arrows shooting at the same
Yeah.
target. And I just learned a lot by watching them, thinking, man, if you just stay focused, you can really do this. I knew
Yeah.
they'd be famous forever, but I no, I didn't think there'd be like this giant resurgence. I just thought they would just keep going and going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Totally. Well,
It's
and
interesting. It's interesting. Listen, I'm not friends with a lot of rock stars. I've been very lucky, and I'm very grateful that I've written songs for big rock stars, and I've met some. But when the holidays comes around, I was with my two younger brothers. I think this was before caller ID because I don't remember his name coming up. I'm with my two younger brothers one Christmas, and the phone rang, and it was Chester. And even though I worked with him, and maybe if you've never been around a celebrity, it's like you're all working together. You're not just like
right.
buddies all the time. And I just was like, hey, I'm with my little brothers. And Chester's like, oh, Merry Christmas, just calling to check in. I've never forgotten that. It's just like, wow,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then, of course, handing the phone to my little brothers. They couldn't believe it.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And
Yeah, that was probably a big deal.
it's like Matt Jenkins seeing a Playboy for the first time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I may have to edit that. We'll see. I don't know, but well, man, so like when you get your publishing, man, and like, and you're
Matt
starting.
Jenkins when he first held a girl's hand when he turned 27. There you
Dude,
go.
oh my gosh, man. Hold on,
Version.
hold on a second. It's just funny because I know Matt so well. Okay, here's the thing, man. So like, so you come in, you've done the Lincoln, and we talked about this kind of before we jumped on, man. And you mentioned it in your book, but you kind of dance around it a little bit,
Yes.
but let me just say this. How about this? We won't necessarily say his name because I know you said it before, but it's like you worked with an artist of Beetlejuicean proportion. Yeah.
That is great. Yeah, I worked for another artist who doesn't call you on Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and listen, we don't say his name because yeah, like Beetlejuice. If you say it
Yeah.
3 times, he'll appear. I worked for another massive icon, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah, people love trying to guess who it is. Yeah, it was fantastic. Once again, another learning experience. But like that was different from Lincoln Park because this guy would sleep all day. He'd wake up before he goes on stage. I mean, it was like the life of a vampire. Like I
Yeah.
never saw the sun.
Yeah, I mean, well, dude, but even like looking back at those experiences, man, like it gave you such insight into the music industry from a different perspective. And then, when you come and again, you get your publishing and everything, and you're writing. I mean, Nashville's such a different speed than Los Angeles, right? I mean, even the way that writers write, man, it's just a different kind of way that they frame up songwriting, right? I mean, was that kind of did you feel like that was a transition for you to come to Nashville and write more of a Nashville kind of way, or did you just kind of say, "Man, I'm going to be uniquely me, and we'll just see how they take to it"?
Great question. I think I became uniquely me, but I think most people, I think when you first moved to Nashville, you're like, oh, these are the kind of songs that are working. Also, I'd never really co-written songs before. I
Yeah,
mean, I had 2 record deals. I had songs that people loved that I just written by myself. So when I was here, I'd been in bands and stuff, but that's a different kind of thing. And when I got here, I was like, oh, this co-writing is really making my songs better.
yeah,
And I'm saying a hook or a title that someone sees in a totally different way. But my main takeaway from Nashville, I realized when I got here that some of the biggest songs happening when I came to town were Jesus Take the Wheel,
yep,
also You're Gonna Miss This that Trace
yep,
Atkins put out. And the lyrics were so great. They were like 3D movies. And I realized very quickly that the girls and guys writing these songs were doing it every single
yeah,
day. Like, as Brett James, may he rest in
yeah,
peace,
absolutely.
Lindsay, Gordy Sampson. I was like, wow, these people, other people that weren't having hits as well, were writing every single day. So I said, I just have to buckle down and do this. And I just love
Yeah.
being in Nashville. I've been in LA long enough. It was close to Detroit. But my main takeaway was you can't just like fool around and write a song once a month. Also in rock and roll, you can just say lyrics about anything and no one knows. Everyone makes their own interpretation. I
Yeah.
love Counting Crows, but it's like doing a
Let's go.
Rubik's cube in the dark. I don't know what he's
Yeah.
talking about.
Well, it's funny
Um,
because Adam Duritz actually says, "Hey, it means whatever you want it to mean," basically. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? You know what I'm saying? Which is funny, but I'm a huge Counting Crows guy. Dude, can I tell you, Matt, I may have told it.
Mr. Jones is about my grandmother. No,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Can I tell you? And I may have told this to somebody else on a podcast, months ago. But I went to a Counting Crows show, Austin, Texas.
woo,
And so,
great.
man, I go down there, and I'm kind of, I mean, I don't know. This is 1997, and so I'm getting this August and everything after record signed. So I go down there, and Adam Duritz, man, dude, he's just, I mean, he looks like he's about to play pickup hoops. He's not dressed all that well, and he
Yes.
he flips around, and he says to me, he goes, "Dude, I know you, don't I?" And I said, "No, we've never met." He said, "No, no, no, I know you." He goes, "You are Mary Chapin Carpenter's son," and I was like, "Yep." I was like, "That's
Are
me,
you?
man." No,
Oh, I was gonna
but I
say.
said, but I sold it. I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I can be that for you." And so I was like, "Dude, I'm Nathan Chapin Carpenter." And so the next night I see them in Dallas, and they see me, and they go, "Chapin Carpenter," and so I go on the bus and just hang out with Counting Crows as Nathan Chapin Carpenter.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah, which
love that.
so, but yeah, I'm a Counting Crows guy,
Act
man.
like
But
you know where you're going and no one stops you.
they won't stop you. Yeah,
I
but
thought he
man,
was going to say, don't I know you? Are you Santa Claus? Yeah.
yeah, I do have a scent
Low
about these
hanging
days.
fruit. Edit
No,
that out.
dude, listen, it's about to be a part-time job for me if I don't kind of figure out a way to get the weight down. But all that to say, man, let me so you come to Nashville, man, and you because listen, did you when you came you didn't have the Uncle Cracker single yet when you came to Nashville
No,
yet?
going back to you need to have your first deal. So I signed a publishing deal, lost these record deals, to come to Nashville, get a writing deal. So you're making a monthly paycheck only to write songs. You're meeting people. You're
Yeah,
surrounded by these other. You're rubbing shoulders with hit writers, and that went on for a couple of years. No, and then nothing happened, and they let me go as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
The fun never ends,
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
So then I lost that deal, and then hats off to my mom. She would always say, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that would drive me
Yeah.
crazy. Mom, that's not helping right now. But
Yeah.
after I lost that deal, I ended up writing Smile with Uncle Cracker and then also Somewhere with You, that Kenny
Yeah.
Chesney released. So I had these two gigantic hits. And then after that, I mean, my
Yeah.
phone was just ringing as much as
Yeah.
a spur.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Totally.
And the phone was ringing off the hook, so you just have to, keep writing and keep believing in yourself.
Well, when you wrote those two smashes, man, like who did you end up settling with as far as publishing goes?
Oh, I signed with an incredible company in New York called Crush because
Okay.
they were a management company and they were
Yep.
managing Fall Out Boy, Train,
Yeah.
Panic at the Disco. Now
Whew.
they have Green Day, Miley Cyrus, and they just had these big lofts in New York City with video games and posters of Back to the Future, but not in a cheesy way. It was
Yeah.
very, and I wanted to be somewhere that people were making records. And when I was up there the first time just writing, I saw the singer from Third Eye Blind was walking around head to toe in black. I thought it was David Lee Roth. I mean, Darth Vader with his helmet off. And I just thought they're writing songs here and they're putting records out. And that's who I signed with then. It was fantastic. So I was down here in Nashville,
Hmm.
got lucky, had other hits, Different for Girls, Alone with You, Same.
Yeah.
And then and Jonathan Daniel, who runs that company, he's like the Yoda to my Luke.
Okay.
He's still a huge mentor, answers whenever I call. But then I decided to sign with in Nashville. Now I'm with Rusty Gaston, who's at
Yeah.
Sony. And
Yeah.
Rusty Gaston has the best ears in the business, and he's like a hummingbird on Red Bull. He has more
Yeah.
energy than you can imagine. And I mean, that's another thing about success. You got to surround yourself with people that are talented, or more importantly, that believe in you.
Yeah.
And
Man,
then
so
also the unexpected thing about co-writing are the friendships. Like,
yeah,
I'm so glad I've written a couple hit songs with Josh Osborne, who introduced me to Matt Jenkins. But
sure.
I can't hug this platinum album at 3 a.m. when I'm going through a breakup. I've tried, but I can call Matt Jenkins or Josh
Yeah.
Osborne. The friendships you make in Nashville are incredible, are irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, man, you mentioned Rusty Gaston. I met Rusty one time. I think he's a Texas guy. I think he's from Texas,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But I met him one time. I think, man, I was at a Sounds game, and I forget who I was with, and I remember, man, somebody said, dude, he's a big deal, and like you wouldn't know what to talk to him. He's just so unassuming. Like
Yeah.
he just seemed like just such a genuinely nice guy. Um,
Oh,
and and so you're with him, man, and you're it's those like you said, those relationships, man, are so important. And like you mentioned, whether it's Matt or Josh O or whoever it is, man, like it's let me ask you this, like when the phone started ringing, like were you able to get into some rooms that maybe you weren't previously able to get into, like because like I mean there's kind of a, as you know, man, in Nashville, I mean it's like there's kind of how do I
yeah.
want to say it, man?
The freshmen always
Yeah,
want to write with the seniors.
exactly, and it's not
It used to be like that, and now it's just kind of the Wild West because with
really.
TikTok or streaming. I mean, you don't know the guy sitting on the corner who's playing a guitar with two strings. For all you know, he's going to have the biggest hit in the world next week. So I've kind of these days I kind of just have to leave my ego at the door, forget
Yeah.
everything I've ever done, and just get in the room with people that seem inspiring. But yeah, the phone did started ringing, but people think it gets easier, and it
Yep.
doesn't at all. You still have to show up
Yeah, you got to
and
deliver.
bring the best song you the best song in town every single day. And who's to say it's the best song? I mean, there's no magic button. There's no one to say it's the best song. So I didn't just keep having hits because I was in rooms with other writers. I don't
Yeah.
really know if it's happened for anybody.
Yeah, no, and yeah, man, that's such a good point, man. You still have to bring it, and so, but because here's the thing, I want to get to your book because, and again, I'm going to actually buy this for Christmas. You should know that. But let me ask you because I think that you maybe touch on this in the book. You mentioned, you were adopted, and something. Tell me because this was a little bit funny to me, but like your adopted father, like he was in radio, right?
Yes.
But then when you met your biological father, Jay Thomas. Like he wasn't always an actor. He was in radio first, right? Was he in radio?
Yeah. So I didn't know him at all growing up. I didn't meet him till I was like 20 or so by kind of a fluke. But yeah, so he was a DJ, like in the earlier years, but he had moved to New York to be an actor. So he was on Mork and Mindy and
Yeah.
Cheers. And
Yeah.
when I was living in LA, working at the record store, yeah, there were billboards with his face all over it,
No
all over LA.
way.
But I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know we were related. And he was battling Howard Stern at the time because Jay was acting, but also he had this really wild morning show on a huge station
He,
called
he,
Power 106 in LA. Howard Stern was in New York and they were battling, putting each other down.
wow.
There were billboards all over with him. And yet Jay would always say, I did everything Howard did, but I got fired for it, and Jay and Howard got 100 million a year.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Jay was
Seriously.
really obnoxious on the radio. Someone just sent me a picture of him recently of him interviewing Sylvester Stallone on a red carpet. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm so glad we don't know what he was asking him because I'm sure
Yeah.
he
Well,
loved to push people's buttons.
well, and you know, you mentioned, and this is something that because I want to know about this, you know, because like, you know, I saw that, you know, Jay had done some things with Letterman. He was kind of a regular on Letterman, right? And
Yes.
one thing that kind of came through about that man was he was such a great storyteller. Like he really did have a great, seemingly a way to tell stories. And man, you're built. It seems like you're built very similarly in that way. And whether or not that was just kind of like, hey man, we were just kind of similar in that way, and it was just maybe, you know, it was just maybe just something that was, you know, what I mean, do you feel like the fact that you guys are both storytellers to some degree, was that coincidence?
Yeah, maybe I don't know because I don't know if my two brothers, that Jay's sons, they're incredibly talented. One of them is an incredible artist. He draws for Tommy Hilfiger, if that's how you say
Wow.
it. It's illustrations in the New
Yeah.
York Times and everything. My other brother Sam is an incredible real estate agent up in Oregon, and I guess they're storytellers, but not like Jay and I are. I
Yeah.
really don't know, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
You
so
know.
yeah,
And
totally.
also, it's so glad Jay didn't raise me because he wasn't with my biological mother. So
Right.
who knows what would happen? I think that, anything certainly confident or talented or special in me has to come from the Hardings a little bit because they
Yeah, of
just
course.
nurtured that love of music. Jay, he called, Bob Dylan a no talent phony. He called Elvis of black music. He said the Beatles were hippie freak drug addicts. He hated music, so he didn't have any of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this will be kind of the last question. So because they were
He
both
was a
both of
radio disc jockey his whole life, and he hated all the music.
yeah, I mean, and that was my curiosity because like, you know, both your Bob, you know, I mean Jay and then your, you know, your adopted, they were both in radio, but like did they know each other from the industry?
No, 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 not
Okay.
at all. In
Okay.
those days, or maybe even in those days, you would put up a baby for adoption. No one was allowed to know. I've actually had people, total strangers, contact me and say, "Hey, how did you find Jay? How do you go about
Wow.
this?" and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What an
yeah, my
amazing
biological mother had been looking for me, but that's like her story to tell. So I don't
sure.
get into it too much. But she had kind of found me, and someone reached out and said, hey, she'd like to meet you. And then she told me who Jay was. And I was like, it sounds like such a bad movie. I'm surprised
Sure.
it didn't star Jay Thomas.
Sure. Yeah, no, I understand.
Hallmark, the
Yeah.
his loudmouth son.
No, no, man. I mean, it is such an absurd thing. It's like, you know, if you could imagine, you know, somebody said that, I mean, you're a Detroit Lion guy, right?
Oh,
If
yeah, I
so,
am now that they're winning. Yeah,
yeah,
I have no
but you know,
problem.
but
I
yeah,
was
but
voted most likely to get beat up by the water boy. I'm not too much of a sports guy.
gotcha. But yeah, I mean, like, all right, I want to talk about the book, man. So
Yeah.
party like a rock star, man. So like all this
Dun,
mad.
dun, 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 dun,
Let's
dun,
go.
dun, dun. So this is me in the Battle of Bands breaking a guitar in the eighth grade. Now that guitar didn't have a scratch on it. When I hit it on the ground, it was like Bugs Bunny and my whole body shattered. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a Nirvana kind of moment, I guess.
No.
Um, yeah, gotcha. Well, because like all this like madness, man, all the twists and turns, man, that have led you here. I mean, you kind of talk a lot about these things, you know, in your book, right? And
Yes.
so it's like when you write a book, how does that even come to be? I mean, you're a songwriter. How does writing a book come to be?
That's great. I played a show here in town in Nashville at the listening room, and there was a woman in the audience who I'd never met her. I didn't know who she was. Her name is Dana Perino, and she's a
Okay.
newscaster on TV. And I did see people asking for her autograph and stuff in the audience. And she wrote me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I saw you. Your stories are great. Have you ever thought about writing a book?" And and I went to New York and met her, and she said, "Yeah, a lot of I forget exactly what she said, but she's very powerful and she's very smart, probably the smartest woman I've ever met. And I know a
Hmm.
lot of smart women."
Sure.
And she just started telling people I saw the songwriter and I got a great book deal. And it was during COVID, so it gave me something to do. You
Yeah.
know, was bored, I could work on the book. If I was excited, too much coffee, I could work on the book. We weren't writing songs very much during COVID,
Yeah.
and that's how it happened. And when it came out, it was just fantastic, and it's great. You can buy it anywhere. I also did the audio version, which was really fun. And I know Matt and other people, they love to just they offered me all of these people that could read the book for me, and I was like, why would I do that? I want to
Yeah.
do it. So
Yeah.
the audio, it's called Party Like a Rock Star, and it's great. And at the end of the book, I talk about all the hits I've been so grateful to have written. I talk about here's how we thought of the title, here's how we got the song to Blake Shelton, here's who turned down the
Mm,
song, here's what happened when we wrote with Darius Rucker. So and it's not like F chord, G chord, none of that boring stuff. It's
sure.
really how we put the songs together, make the lyrics pop and stuff like that. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you
People
mentioned
say the
that.
book is hysterical. I thought it was a serious book. It wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm imagining a book that may be hysterical myself, but man, let me ask you because it's like when you talk about that in your book and you kind of just like it sounds like you're kind of helping even young artists or songwriters navigate, just like you said, just kind of navigate how do you do how do you get this song in front of this person or whatever. I guess, man, when you're in a room and like looking back on some of the songs like Sangria or whatever it's been with you, right? When you have you ever left a write like a write where you're just kind of like, that's a smash, dude. That's an absolute smash.
Hey, yeah, you met me every day. The ones that I think are going to change the world and
They
have people
know,
on the top of buildings singing along, you don't get too much response from them. And the ones that are you're kind of like, I think that's pretty good, are the
yeah,
ones that really light people up. But
yeah,
no, I knew Sangria was special. I wrote it with Josh Osborne and
yeah,
Trevor Rosen of
yeah,
old, just because it was just sticking in my head a lot. And somewhere with you that Kenny Chesney
yeah,
recorded that Shane McAnally, people turned that song down like that. That was like a vape pen at a Morgan Wallen concert. Everyone just kept
sure.
passing it. No one wanted it. They
Yeah,
said it wasn't
yeah,
country. It didn't sound country. And but Kenny Chesney, thought it was so different for his own career that he
yeah,
put it out. So does that? I don't even remember what you got. So no, you never really know. Although Smile that I wrote with Uncle Cracker, that also sat around for a couple years, I believe, until his record label released it. But I felt in every bone in my body that was a hit. I mean, I just thought that was going to be a monster smash. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And man, and that's the thing. So like you mentioned, a guy
By
like
the way, we're talking. I mean, I've been writing songs my whole life, and we're talking about the best 8 days of my life.
that. Well, yeah, which is bizarre, I'm sure,
I
but
know it's like thousands and thousands of songs to get to these. But I do say to young writers, if God or the universe or something came down or a crystal ball said, you're going to have to write 500 songs before you get a hit,
yeah,
you wouldn't think twice about it. You would just go, oh, I'm going to start right now. But
right.
when you're in the middle of it, you're like, why does this take so long?
Sure. Well, and man, and I was going to ask you too, because it's like you mentioned, like Shane McNally. I mean, like now, just a huge monster rider, right? And you
So
mentioned,
many spray tans ago, I met him.
and you mentioned the late great, Brett James as well. Like,
Oh,
and
yes.
and I did some dates with Brett back in the day, and just an amazing dude. And but those guys, and a lot of people don't know, but like they came to town, they were artists first. They kind of really didn't. The artist thing just didn't work. It didn't fit, right?
I,
And
what a
and
great thing, because Brett, if people don't know, Brett James, who's written more songs than we can count, and Shane McAnally, they both came here, tried it, left. I'm sure you know
yeah.
this, but then came back and tried again. It's like, it's wild.
Well, and so this will be kind of where I put
I mean, I
a
don't mean
pin
they
in.
came back a few weeks later. I mean,
Yeah.
Shane was in town for like 14 years before he had it. Now people are here for 14 days and they don't understand why nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, and
I'm
let me ask you.
juggling kittens and singing my song on TikTok. Why isn't it working?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Why isn't my follower count going up? Well, man, I mean, let me ask you this too, and we'll put a pin in it. But it's like, something like that people say all the time that if you've worked in the music industry, it's so hard to quit it, right? It's so hard to,
Yeah.
it's so hard to just kind of just pull yourself away from it and just be done with it. And like, I mean, do you feel
Even when
like,
they're throwing things at you and you need to get 3 stitches,
yeah,
it's so hard to
no, that's
quit.
exactly right. I mean, dude. So let me ask you this, because like you've gone to have great success, man. But like, was there ever a moment where you were just like, man, I could vanish and nobody would notice?
Oh, well, yeah, at my prom. Oh,
Yeah,
yes. I don't know if I could. Wait, you mean
like,
because
like,
I
like,
because I was
like,
frustrated?
yeah, frustrated. You're just like, man, I could kind of leave this be and be done, and I don't know if anybody even notice? I mean, where you just
That's
felt
a
like,
great question. I never thought, I mean, I probably didn't think they would notice. I knew they wouldn't notice, but there were many times where I was like, how do I keep this going? I just go back to like losing a record deal, and you're just like, and then no one's answering your calls, and
yeah,
you're like, you're just starting from scratch again.
yeah,
But eventually, I would hear a song on the radio like Teenage Dream by
yeah,
Katy Perry, and then I just like, it makes all the hair on your body stand up, and you're like, man, I got to write a song like that. Not
yeah,
copy, but, or you go see a band or you go see a concert that fires you up. And I'm like, man, I want to be on that stage. And, you just keep going along. It's almost like how much discomfort can you take before your dream comes true? I don't mean like physical, someone punching you,
sure,
but how many day jobs can you work? I always worked the weekends in Los Angeles so I could have the weekdays free to give my demos and go to record companies.
yeah.
I even borrowed a FedEx jacket to see record companies because I couldn't get in. I would just walk by the security guard and put my demo in everybody's mailbox. True story. So
Really?
yeah, you just have to like stay in it and stick it out. Yeah,
You
everyone's
were
partying on the weekends, going out with girls. Not me. I was at the day job because I needed the weekdays free to visit the record companies.
Yeah, yeah,
I
man.
worked
Well,
at night so I could write during the day. Like you just have to, if you don't put writing songs first in front of everything else, I just, someone else is gonna, work harder. You can, it's, I'm kind of stumbling over my words because it's like hard to explain, but you just have to put everything else behind it because there's so many people trying to do it and there's so many people working
yeah.
so hard at it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, and I was so one of my best friends, Brian Simpson, who you probably know,
Oh yeah,
and so I remember Brian and I we had come to Nashville years ago, and for the first time, we hear Brett, and we talk about Brett James, but we hear Jesus Take the Wheel on the radio for the first time, and
yes,
I remember Brian is like, you got to be kidding me. I remember he was like, why did I not think of that?
of course, yeah.
And like, when was the last time you heard a song on the radio and you were like, you got to be
I,
kidding? Like,
I got it. I don't know who wrote it. Hopefully you're listening. I heard a Jordan Davis song
yeah,
called "Money Isn't Real."
okay,
And money can't hold your hand, money can't comfort you. The lyrics are better than I'm saying. And I was like, wow. And it's funny because I was in a taxi cab in New York City, stuck in traffic, and the driver was saying to me one day, look at all these skyscrapers. Money isn't even real. This is all fake money. It never dawned on me to take that and write a song like, oh, money isn't real. It's so clever. It's so incredibly clever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. You mentioned Jordan Davis. I'll have to see if Matt wrote that. But yeah. Well, listen, JT, man. Like, and I mean this. Like, everybody, if you haven't gotten it yet, go get the book. I'm getting the book for Christmas. I promise you that. It's going to be in my stocking. I'm going to make sure my wife knows.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, man. And dude, and I mean this.
Finally something in your wife's stockings besides you.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
exactly. But dude, I mean this with all sincerity, man. Like, I've seen I don't know how many writers rounds in my days, and there are so many great writers. There really are. But I would say, man, that you are one of the most entertaining, and I mean that, man, one of the most entertaining, I think, songwriters that there is that I've seen, man, and I've seen a lot of them.
thank you very
And
much.
and
Thank
and
you.
man, you just bring such a dynamic that I think you bring the dynamic of a performer, man. And I mean, even down to whatever it is, a bedazzled coat or whatever it is you're wearing that day, man. Like, you just bring the zing, dude. And like, I'm thankful, man. And so I appreciate you jumping on.
Bring the zing. I
You
like that.
bet.
You got to put a book out called that. Well, Nate, thank you very
Of
much.
course,
And to
man.
all the writers out there, I can't wait to listen to your podcast and hear you on the radio. The world is always going to need a new hit song. It's going to happen for someone out there. Thanks so much. And Party Like a Rock Star is the book, audio, or what's the other word? Oh, tangible. Yeah. And Nate will autograph it for you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see what that's worth. JT, thanks, man. You're a stud. I appreciate you, brother.